Hello everybody and welcome back. Good to talk to all of you again. I apologize if I don't sound 100% normal today. The right side of my face is kind of swollen. But I did promise that I was going to do a Boise Nueve de Julio review, so here it is. Now before I get started, two things. One of them, the first entry for the ring contest is now up. Link in the video description below. Click on it, go do a like, comment, view. And support me to become a commander in World Warships. And second of all, join the sharks, right? Subliminal messaging in the background. Anyways, so Boise, Nueve de Julio, good, bad, should you get it, should you not? First things first, this ship is kind of interesting. If you buy one, you'll get a combat mission in order to get the other, since they're essentially duplicate ships of one another. So if you get the Boise, you will get the mission to get Nueve de Julio. If you get Nueve de Julio, you'll get a mission to get the Boise. But is the ship any good, right? And I'll say she's now kind of, well, she's got her place. Let's just put it like that. First things first, let's take a look at her armor and survivability. And first things first, let's take a look at the Citadel. And you'll notice that the Citadel is very, very interesting shaped. The middle section is right at the waterline, which means that people shooting your broadside and they hit you at the waterline, they will get those Citadel hits. However, you will notice that the forward Citadel and the aft Citadel are very much underwater. And this allows you to basically island hug, but to poke the sort of the front part of your ship out, get the forward 3 turrets out, start shooting, keep the middle section nice and hidden, and it'll be a challenge for other people to get Citadel hits on you in return. The forward Citadel is very much underwater and requires really good underwater hits in order to Citadel you. However, of course, if you do go out and show that broadside and you show that middle section, people will be able to get Citadel damage from you. The other sort of nice little quirk, shall we say, is that your plating is only 16 millimeters thick, which means that in some situations, if you invite shots into this upper section, again, not the Citadel area, but the upper section, even BB shells, if they hit there, they have too much pen, they'll just go right on through, and you actually end up just taking a little bit of overpen damage. So it's again something you can use in certain scenarios to help you survive. So armor-wise, I would say the Nueve de Julio, it definitely lends itself to this ship's particular playstyle, which, by the way, is still USN Cruiser-like, which is light cruiser, by the way, which means you're going to be spending some time behind islands. However, unlike the other USN light cruisers at Tier 7, which there's only one, actually no, there's two, Atlanta's there as well, you do have access to a really, really nice repair party consumable. So this ship, it's got the ability to kill itself, kind of like the way that you'll see with the British light cruisers and Conqueror. Take some damage, take a lot of damage, and you can hit that heal button and get back a whole lot of HP. And that, of course, does allow you to stay in the battle longer, and the longer you stay in battle, the more damage you can do. More damage you can do, the bigger influence you have in the game. The Nueve de Julio and Boise has 15 of these 152mm guns. They reload in 10 seconds, so not the fastest in terms of reload, but it is 1,552mm guns. It's a lot of shells. And they're pretty darn accurate as well. Now, even though shell damage is kind of meh at only 2,200, and the chance of fire is not amazing at 11% with IFHE, obviously you'll need that skill, and Demo Expert, no flags, you're still going to get a good number of fires just because of the sheer number of shells that you're going to fire. The important thing, of course, is also to remember that you do have armor piercing, so if you run up against a ship that's giving you a broadside, make sure to switch to armor piercing and pound good damage into that enemy ship. The one sort of, both strength and weakness, and it's hard to say, one of the strengths and weaknesses is the 13.6 kilometer range. Now, you'll say, hey, that's really short range, how can this possibly be a strength? And it has a lot to do with the way that detection works in the game right now. If you have a lot of range and you don't really use it all that much, every time you fire your guns, you get spotted from further and further away. Having less range at times can be helpful, because if you're engaging a ship and you don't have the biggest detectability circle, and let's say you're covered by an island, a ship on the flank that's further away might not be able to spot you. Where had you had, let's say, 15, 16 kilometer range, a ship on the flank, they're still going to spot you because it's just how big your bloom is. So the shorter range is not necessarily a bad thing. Of course, it can be an issue if you're in the higher tier battles, right? Let's say you're doing tier 8, 9 battles, the lack of range can kind of hurt. Still, remember the playstyle of these ships. You're going to be going from island to island, taking cover and popping out maybe just the front and getting some shells off, or if you're a little bit further back from the island, getting all the guns off, but you do have to sit a little bit further back. And you have to be wary of counterfire, of course. But yes, range can be an advantage and a disadvantage. Of course, another thing is the USN 152s. The arcs over long range do tend to be kind of crazy, so shorter range kind of makes you more aware of your positioning and allows you to get into positions where your shells can actually hit reliably. So that's another good thing as well. AA-wise, however, on the Boise Nueve de Julio, it's not that good. I mean, yes, you can carry defensive fire on a ship like this, but for me, with this particular ship, I think I'd rather take hydroacoustic most of the time. Although, if you're finding that carriers is a frequent problem, or you're divisioning with a carrier, then obviously take the FAA. The AA is, again, not the most amazing, but, you know, if you couple it with defensive AA, you're going to be able to get some aircraft down, no problem. But without it, it'll be a bit of a struggle. Damage is not that great. One of the major weaknesses of the Nueve de Julio and the Boise, both of them, and by the way, Boise has a fantastic camo. One of the major problems I have with this ship is actually the speed. The 30 knot max speed is just really, really slow, especially for a cruiser. And if a really slow cruiser is not your thing, you're really going to have to reconsider it, because it's not fast at all. And especially when you're at the higher tiers, where you have fast battleships that can make good speed, having a cruiser go 30 knots is very, very painful, because sometimes you can't escape from enemy fast battleships. So definitely be wary of that speed. Overall agility, not too bad. 690 meter turn radius for both ships. Rudder shift time 9.1 seconds. So, you know, she's okay, reasonably agile. But again, like I said, that speed, especially when you're in maneuvers, you're not having a lot of speed. And that's pretty painful for a cruiser. Surface detectability is pretty good, 10.1. Again, like I said, that main battery firing range, if you go from 10.1 to 13.6, that's not a huge increase, right? But had the ship had more range, that would have been a bigger jump. And bigger jump means easier to spot. Easier to spot means more likely to take incoming fire. So definitely, like I said, the firing range, pros and cons to the ship. But again, the really major thing about the ship actually is that heel. Having that heel allows the Nueve to absorb more damage and to be a little bit more risky. Your position can be a little bit more risky. You can take more aggressive positions. You can get into island areas that maybe you wouldn't go if you didn't have this heel. And it does open up definitely more possibilities for you. And like I said, you'd have a lot of guns. If you get into those positions, you're gonna do good damage, right? So definitely a ship that I would say, because of this heel, and if you're someone who enjoys that kind of playstyle of going from island to island and being a little bit more on the aggressive side of that island to island strategy, then this ship probably could be for you. Again, take a look at the gameplay example that I show afterwards and you'll see what I'm getting at. In terms of captain skills on a ship like this, IFHE is an absolute must, same with Concealment Expert. So the minimum number of points that I think for the ship to work effectively is going to be 14, which is exactly what I have right now. And you pretty much want to go Priority Target, you probably want to go Adrenaline Rush. You can go either Demo Expert or you can go with Superintendent, that depends on you, IFHE, and Concealment. Now, of course, normally, if you're playing normally, I would say, I would even say get IFH even before Concealment, as you're going to spend so much of your time behind islands anyways. You might as well be able to do more damage, right? But definitely with the from 10 points to 14, the next most important skill you want to get is definitely Concealment, as you do want to have the ship as stealthy as possible, right? You don't want to be spotted easily, because spotted easily means people shoot at you, and still a US light cruiser doesn't like damage sometimes, especially from large caliber shells. Anyways, let me take you into battle and let me show you what I mean when I say you can position the ship a little bit more aggressively and you can play the ship a little bit more aggressively. So we start off on Neighbors, and on this particular map, this particular battle just happened to be a standard battle, but that's okay, it'll show you sort of what I'm trying to get at. Because of the surface detectability, which is 10.1, that's pretty good. I'm able to get forward with the destroyers. Now, obviously, I can't be in open water, so I do have to get myself into a position with a certain degree of cover. So I'm going to choose this nice little island over here at around E6, and I'm going to get behind it. Now, hold on a second here. Still trying to get shots over onto the Indianapolis there on the far side, but I'm going to slowly get myself to this island. And when I get myself to this island, I'm going to have pretty decent cover, right? Nobody's really going to be able to shoot me on my side, and I'm going to be able to bow my ship forward and uncage my 4 3-gun turrets, which is 9 guns in total, still a good number of shells. Now, the only way that I'm going to be under threat is if somebody gets up behind me and starts shooting, but currently looking at the enemy surface fleet distribution, I think we're doing okay in that particular department. Now, as I get closer to the island, I finally do get spotted, so I am going to be taking a few shots, but not too worried. One of the big advantages of this particular ship is that heal, right? You take some damage, it doesn't really matter. You're going to be able to heal it all back. And that particular heal does grant this particular ship that extra amount of durability, extra bit of longevity in battle, which is really, really helpful. Once again, that forward citadel placement does allow you to, at times, get into positions like this where you are sticking that bow part of your ship forward out of cover, and you're going to get shells over, while the sort of central area of your ship is a little bit more concealed and a little bit harder to hit. Now, my initial position is a little bit more forward, but I can back up at any moment, and when I back up, I will get into good sort of covering position. You'll see that in a second, because the enemy guy is going to come into the picture here, and I'm going to start backing up while continuing to make sure I can shoot at him with my forward guns. The US light cruiser guns, they also do have the slightly more lofty arc, so sometimes when you're behind cover, you can't get those shells over things. Slightly bit easier than, let's say, with the 203s. Anyways, there's the Ganai, it's appeared, and you'll see me, I'm starting to get myself reversed into better cover, and in this kind of position, I have absolutely no threat from an enemy battleship. Well, I'm going to continue to be able to get my forward guns out and continue to land shells. One of the things about these US light cruisers is that in the event that you have an enemy ship that's giving you a broadside, do make sure to fire your armor piercing. Your armor piercing is actually quite decent, and it will do decent damage. And you'll actually see that in this battle, a lot of my damage actually comes when enemy ship decides to give me full broadside and I just pound away. Of course, if enemy ships are angled, do use your HE. That is what they're for. They're for engaging targets that are angled. In this particular position, you could also pack Hydro. It is useful for spotting the occasional destroyer torpedo early. I actually had forgotten to do that, but it is something that you can do for sure. And it will allow you to decide when you want to pull forward and when you want to come backwards. That's kind of the point of the Hydro, right? At times you're allowed to stick the bow of your ship forward, and with the Hydro on, you'll know when you might want to pull back. Again, do keep in mind to have an eye open on where the enemy destroyers are. I was fortunate in this particular situation where the enemy destroyers' torpedoes ran out before they actually got to the danger zone. Okay. As the enemy team starts to pull away, I'm going to just follow them up a little bit, try to keep them within range, keep engaging. One of the weaknesses of the ship, like I said, while also its strength, is that range. Sometimes you do wish you had a little bit more range, but sometimes that extra detectability that comes with having that extra range when you fire, not really worth it, right? It's kind of a double-edged sword at times. Sometimes you really want that range, and sometimes you're like, darn it, I wish I could just be a little bit more stealthy. So you got to play with that particular thing. Again, lower tier battles not as noticeable. Higher tier battles definitely more noticeable, and you do kind of want more of that range, shall we say, if you're in a tier 8 or 9 battle. But even then, sometimes in 8-9 battles, you sometimes do want that extra concealment. You don't want to fire and be spotted by just about everyone, right? So it is one of those sort of trade-off things that has good and bad. Alright, like I said, if things give you a broadside, don't forget to engage with armor piercing. You can do decent. I don't know what happened to that salvo. I aimed it maybe just a little bit too high and I missed the citadel and a little bit too far back. But again, see what I mean? Like, keep the middle part of your ship covered and you can use your forward guns to engage. See, it works. And also, I'm not too worried about that forward section because, first of all, it is the bow section. And on this particular ship, the Citadel is hard to hit, and the bow section is relatively easily damage saturated, which means that if they do end up shooting at the bow, well, good, because they'll start taking less and less damage, right? Anyways, me obviously wondering where this Fiji is gonna go. Looks like he's decided nope, doesn't really want to come out broadside and get deleted. One of the things is that if you are an enemy cruiser and you run into a Boise or a Nueve de Julio and you happen to have rather weak armor, for example, like the UK light cruisers, and you show broadside, this ship, if it shoots AP, can very quickly delete you with Citadel hits. You can get a lot of them, right? Very, very quickly too. If you're a battleship and you go broadside to this thing, watch out as well, because it can pound in a lot of damage also very quickly with armor piercing. Alright, so now I'm going to start moving up 10.1 detect, so I know that my detectability should allow me to move into a new position. Of course, the minute I do actually get a good shot, I will take it. Ooh, torpedoes again. No worries there, but as you can tell, there we go. On that Miyoko, no Citadel hits, but was able to put in like 6,300 damage with an AP salvo, which is quite good. Alright, enemy Ganai, broadside. First salvo, I'm going to fire is going to be HE. I think I'm going to stick with HE for this ship because I do want to just set him on fire if possible. Hold on, let me see if we get another salvo off here. There we go, another salvo, and once again getting behind cover. Nueve de Julio and Boise, they're both kind of this cover-dependent kind of ships, so you do need to consider where you want to go, cover to cover, island to island, and you have to decide when you want to go out and go into the open water areas. Okay, I took an AP shot at the destroyer. I had the AP loaded for a broadside Royal Navy light cruiser potentially, but oof, gotta just dodge these torpedoes first. And okay, Farragut's still there. There we go. There is the Fiji. But there's also really damaged Ganai in the back there, 10,000. I decided to engage the Ganai here, mostly for two reasons. One, in my current position, the Fiji can't really do much to hurt me, but that Ganai can actually hurt me really, really badly. And if I can take out the Ganai, the only ships remaining here would be a New York, a Miyoko, and a Fiji, and a destroyer. And that's not really going to hold up against the forces that we have. Ganai, if I let him live, can pose some additional problems, so I'm going to see if I can finish off the Ganai now first. Of course, you'll see me, I'm continuing to reverse, right? I'm trying to get out of his line of fire as well. Again, trying to keep that middle section of my ship protected. Very, very important. Okay, Ganai decides to turn in more. I think that's pretty much going to be the end of him, though. But this Miyoko is giving me a bit of a broadside. So, again, like I said, if you get broadsides, go to the armor piercing. You're going to be able to do some good damage. And there's my first salvo. There's the Citadel. Miyoko is hurting. Reload, like I said, not amazing, but fast enough that you can get up these good follow-on shots. And right there, goodbye, Miyoko. Alright. Ganai's down as well. Miyoko's down as well. Oh man, the only ships they have here now is the New York. I think the Fiji went down as well. So the enemy team over here just basically melted right away. And now I'm going to be able to be a little bit more brave, be able to come out and engage in more open water scenarios. Can a New York absolutely still hurt me? Sure, but the New York right now has like 10 other things to worry about as well, not just me. So come out and get all my guns onto target and start engaging as quickly as possible. Once again, New York is kind of broadside, so go to the AP, right? And that's one of the things that if you're playing like a light cruiser, especially these US light cruisers with a lot of guns, do remember to use your armor piercing. Alright, now aside from this one destroyer, I am the southernmost ship here. My whole team is coming, they're getting there, but I am the southernmost ship, and right here is a Scharnhorst. Now, unfortunately, in this particular fight against the Scharnhorst, I am caught in open water, so if I decide to run away, possibly the Scharnhorst will let me go, and that'll be fine, but then I'm gonna have to find some other spot to find cover, which there isn't any anywhere close by. So I decided instead to just become really, really aggressive and engage the Scharnhorst head on. And again, like I mentioned earlier, the Citadel is not the easiest thing to hit. I do have a nice heal that can allow me to heal a bunch of HP. And if the Scharnhorst's aim isn't great, then a lot of overpens are going to happen. So why the hell not, right? Like I said, 15 guns is a lot of guns and it's a lot of shells. And if you play it right, you're still going to do pretty darn well, even against something like a Scharnhorst. So I start off slinging a bunch of HE, hoping to get some fires. You'll see the effect of that really thin armor. That shell hit didn't really do any real damage, a little bit of overpen. Now the enemy Scharnhorst decides to go broadside, and broadside is where you better watch out if you're going broadside in front of a US light cruiser, because they can output a lot of damage, especially when they have 15 guns. Watch the first salvo there. Bam, that is almost 6k damage that I did. Follow-up salvo right here, coming out, another salvo. Now I've got to watch out for that other light cruiser as well. This is why my angling isn't perfect, and I am going to eat. There's a Citadel hit, but that last salvo that I put in there was 7.5k damage against that Scharnhorst. This one here is going to be, okay, a little bit less. That one, I aimed a little bit high. Some of the shots went into the superstructure and did overpen. But able to get a very good amount of damage pretty darn quickly as well. Turn around to engage the Dallas here, and my first salvo there again with armor piercing into the Citadel. That's 7,300 damage. At the HP that I was at, I just had to take a risk, see if I could get as many shells out as possible and get the kill, but unfortunately that one it overpenned, so didn't get the killing blow on him. But still, for a battle, not too bad there. 112,000 damage, 4 Citadel hits, 211 target hits, destroyed 2 ships, 6 fires. Base experience 1655. Again, this was a tier 7 battle, so again, it is showing the ship a little bit more favorably. Tier 8 battles, there's a little bit more of a struggle for sure. In terms of damage there, you'll see a lot of the damage was from the arm piercing shells. And then finally, credits earned 412,959 with the premium 256,881 had I been on a basic account. Anyways, overall opinion of the Nueve de Julio / Boise. I think it's a good ship. The heel definitely allows it to be a little bit different than the other US light cruisers in terms of how they play. So, if this is something that interests you, give it a shot. But if you don't like that island hugging playstyle, then definitely not the kind of ship for you, right? If you're more the kiting style, then this one is something you might want to consider passing on. Anyways, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Aside from all that, folks, take care, have yourselves a good one, and I'll talk to all of you again tomorrow.